Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I want to talk about this article that appeared in Search Engine Roundtable on August 11th, 2021. Google is not yet worried about faking author details in structured data. Before we get into that, you'll notice I have new surroundings. I just moved into a new apartment, long overdue. I have not set up my office yet, but I'm hoping to do that soon. But into today's story, Google recently has started to support the author.url and other author properties to support telling Google which author wrote an article on your site. Now, this is similar to how Dublin Core does that, but it also is the latest in a long line of things that Google has done to try and create author entities. Now, a long time ago, they had authorship markup, basically this convoluted way where you would point your author markup toward your Google Plus profile, and the Google Plus profile would point back toward your site or something like that. But basically, that was the original way. That kind of got deprecated along the way. Lately, they've figured out kind of like with published authors, like book authors, they have entities and stuff like that. But as far as articles that are on the web, like a blog or even a podcast or something like that, it's still, kind of figuring out like how to create entities. Now, this thing about faking author details and spamming stuff, this is a question that came up specifically. But where this came from is this EAT thing, the expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, that's been appearing in the Google Quality Rater guidelines for several years now. This has been a hot topic in SEO, where basically how it's supposed to work is if in the way that people interpret it is basically if an author has a lot of expertise, because they hear these words, and authority and trustworthiness, then if they write an article for your site, then in theory it should rank higher. But what actually happens, and we've been talking about this for several years on this channel, we've been talking about it for about 3 years. What actually happens in reality is if your website already has a track record of having authority content and your website already has a lot of authority built up, then that whatever is on there, generally, no matter who's writing it, as long as the content is right, and has accuracy, and people seem to like it, and the site still has a lot of links, and it gives the right signals to Google, then those pieces of content are still going to rank really well. And the reason why I'm saying this is a long time ago we got a question on this channel, or we answered a question on this channel. It had to do with, I think it was like a site that was selling e-commerce stuff. It was like for dental stuff, and they got like some dentists to write some articles for this basically e-commerce site, and basically tacked on a blog, and then they're like, why isn't our stuff ranking? We got like a licensed DDS, and we got all these like people who have authority in their field to write for it. And the reason being is the sites like the ADA, the American Dental Association, the ADA, Crest, Oral-B, these types of sites, they already have authority built up around dental content. And those sites are always going to rank higher than just an up-and-coming like e-commerce site that has dental and dental stuff that they're selling. Okay, so this question came by John Mueller, and okay, so anyway, we'll go into this. The article said, anyone can add anything to structured data, so it's technically easy to spam. The truth is, some sites will still use popular names on their content as well. Look at mine. I have a popular author name. The guy's dead for a long time. As a way to fake authority on their own sites. Oh my goodness. Maybe that's why, It happens all the time, so I guess Google has experience with this. It's funny because Google removed authorship a year ago. Okay, I didn't realize it was only a year ago. But it can recognize authors without authorship, and Google has been saying that for a while. So this person asked John Mueller, who's the representative of Google that gets a lot of airtime, and basically he's the go-between between people who are SEOs and webmasters and then Google itself. And he basically tries to steer people in the right direction without giving too much information away, without telling you the secret formula, because that's not going to happen. But he says, we use a lot of signals in search. I'm not too worried about spam yet. Because, and again, the way that people figure like authority and expertise works, yes, if you are an entity, if you are like in the entity graph already, if you've written a book, or you have, or if you're lucky enough to be like one of those marketers that used, I can't remember what it's called, but it was like basically this sign-up sheet for like a database of like people. It was a very early thing with the database, and Google pulled data from that. If you got a Wikipedia page, or if you got something like that, then it's, you know, you're famous enough to basically create an entity for yourself. But if you're just like a random doctor or a random authority on a subject, you know, maybe like Google figures that out, but, you know, it has to be able to discern between different people that might have the same name, because that happens quite often, okay? So, but to make it easy, and people could just slap somebody, famous person's name on an article. So in order to safeguard against that, basically Google rewards the site. And we did a video, it might have been 5 videos back, that we did about this. Google rewards the site, not just the author. So you could have the same famous person author on one site, and if it's like a already popular site with a lot of authority, that article is going to probably rank really well. But you could have that same famous person author on a relatively unknown blog, and it's probably not going to get as much traction for that very reason. It doesn't have the track record yet. It doesn't have the link profile. It doesn't have the authority of people referencing it in different things. Once it builds that up, and that site is the beneficiary of that authority, then that site as a whole is going to do better. And it's not really tied to, you know, hey, Google recognizes like every famous person author, like right off the bat, or like whether you're an expert in this field or that field, because it's not there yet. Just basically this. So that's why they're not worried about it yet, okay? So, so Barry Schwartz, Rusty Brick, asked John Mueller on Twitter. He said, some folks thinking the new author.url and article structure data will be used for ranking purposes, i.e. the expertise of an author across the web. Generally, structured data is not used for ranking from what I've heard. Also, it seems easy to spam. Any insights? And John Mueller says, we may use structured data to better understand the context of a page, which can have ranking effects, such as ranking for more appropriate queries, like around their name maybe, I don't know. Not a broad change in position. So that part wouldn't be out of the question. We use a lot of signals in search, so I'm not too worried about spam yet. So basically they're saying, this is not like a really big signal. That's what they're telling you. This is not like the most important signal yet. Maybe they would like to get there at some point, but it's really hard to measure, and people could very easily still manipulate this if they made it very strong signals, so that's why they're not doing it. Okay, so basically this article goes on to say the same thing. There's nothing to say that, you know, to stop a site publisher or a webmaster from saying like, hey, this famous person wrote this article. Will Google pick up on it and know it is fake? Maybe over time. But he doesn't expect, John Mueller said that he does not expect Google to use this for ranking quite so soon, though some engineers may look to see if it could be trusted for that purpose. So Andy Beard asked, John, more specifically, can established author entity with a bidirectional relationship and with the publishing site through schema be recognized by the machine learning? My key line of thought is that the machine learning may recognize things, but not have enough data to use in decisions. And John Mueller replied, I don't expect there to be an immediate causal relationship in response to any URL specified, though I'm sure some folks will try and find one. It's like the other structured data on a page. Provides something useful, which we can trust, and we might be able to use it to better understand a page. So basically, if you have the opportunity to use author.url in your structured data, go ahead and use it, because it will more than likely be used to over time create an entity for that specific author. But don't expect to leverage one author versus the other and their authority. Google doesn't have a ranking system for authority of authors within a specific category or industry. It does not have that. It's not that far advanced. And the spam factor, you could slap somebody's famous name on here. Don't expect it to do anything, because there's no way for them to basically detect spam at all. So they're not really using this as any type of authority signal yet. And in the same way, don't expect to get like a big name or authoritative or author with expertise on a given subject and just put that on your site and expect your site to go up, because that is not going to happen either. So you need to build a track record for your site, having authority content, lots of content, build those links. You got to have content to get links, basically. And over time, Google will probably recognize your site. And you will know when you have this authority, because you'll start seeing articles on your site start to rank for certain queries. Now, if that happens and Google has placed you in this bucket of a certain category and saying this site is about this category, we can kind of trust it, then you will probably see, or I should say, the likelihood that you can rank with subsequent content that is high quality, accurate, insightful, helpful, useful, well presented on the page, good design, that likelihood that content will rank will go up. And it's not really tied to the author thing. So I just wanted to touch on this. This touches on EAT, touch on the author structured data and the spammability of it, and where we are kind of with EAT. Still a good idea to build out distinction between different entities and people, because that probably will be a thing down the line. Is it in 2021 or 2022? Probably not yet. Anyway, if you have questions about this or anything about SEO, search engine optimization, put it down in the comments below. I will be happy to answer. I'm hoping to get back on track with a production schedule for these videos, but enjoy seeing you here. And if you got value from this, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. That's all I have for now, and until next time, peace.